Hello underwater friends. Some of you may know I have a pretty good system underwater. I bring a Sony A7r3 with a Nauticam housing. I also have 2 lights and 2 strobes and a tripod. So that's quite cool. But the other day I went diving for macro and a manta ray passed by. I was so frustrated. So, you're in the market for a new underwater camera, or you just want to know what would be good for the next one? Well, today we're going to talk about one of the cameras that I really like and is not so expensive. So, what do I need for a good camera? Well, because of my previous story, I want to be able to take pictures of big and small animals at the same time, from wide angle to macro or super macro. I want sharp pictures and videos, of course, because if you take pictures of small animals especially, and the eye of the shrimp is not sharp, well, it doesn't look so good. For video, needs to be sharp as well, at least where I want. I want a pretty good autofocus. There's nothing worse than trying to take pictures from a moving fish, and then the autofocus hunts and hunts and hunts, and the fish is gone. You want to be able to make slow motion sometimes. You see a critter that is moving fast or that may do something special, and then you go on a high frame rate. Like this, you can slow it down on post-processing. Or, in general, you want a very good resolution, so you want to be able to take 4K. And of course, you don't want to spend an arm and a leg on a housing and a camera, so it needs to be reasonable. But whatever the price you want to put, you look and you're never so happy. You have DSLRs or mirrorless, but you have to choose between wide angle or macro. And then you have the mirrorless that have a very bad autofocus and sometimes don't even have good video features. You're considering mirrorless, but a camera, 2 lenses minimum, a housing, a dome port, a flat port. That's a lot of money. And also, if you want to travel, that's a whole suitcase just for that. You want a compact camera, but the autofocus is bad, the resolution for video is not so good, you go no more than 30 frames per second, well, little weak. Also, with mirrorless, most of the time, you can only rely on automatic for video, and you don't even have options on flat profiles, except maybe the Gopro, but the Gopro for smaller subject is quite bad and you cannot really adjust the way you want. So whatever the price you want to put, you're never really happy with your choices. But that's until you find the Sony RX100 Mark VII. A friend of mine, Ludo, from Southern Dream Divers in Bali, just bought one. And that was my first choice as well. So I checked on the specs and everything, and wow, that might be the beast for underwater. The camera is compact, a little bit expensive, especially if you compare it to compacts, but then the specs are amazing. It has a super fast autofocus, down to 0.02 seconds. It's so fast, it's even faster than my mirrorless camera. It also have eye autofocus and animal eye autofocus on photo and video. So when you lock on the subject, you're never gonna lose it again. You can shoot 20 frames per second. Of course, your strobe won't go as fast, but depending on the light situation, that's what you can do. If you go shallow, the 2.4 aperture will probably allow you to take many pictures and have enough light. The lens goes from 24 to 200 equivalent of a full frame camera. So from very wide to very narrow. So any subject that comes on that day can be shot. And also, on top of it, you can add either a wide angle wet lens or a diopter to make pictures of smaller and bigger animals. It has 4K 24 or 30 frames per second capability, and if you shoot full HD you can go to 120 frames per second, which will allow you to do great slow motion. You also have 10 different log modes that allows you to have a flat picture, which is great to have a good dynamic range. You also have image stabilization, so if your footage is a little bit shaky, no problem, the camera will help you out. Also, a great advantage of this camera is that it's really compact. So you want to take it on land with you, you can just put it in a pocket or a small bag, and when you want to travel, it's not as big. For the housing, you have 3 or 4 main options. Option number 1, the housing from Sony, it's about $200+, and it's compact. It's very basic, but unfortunately it doesn't have a vacuum system, so if you don't close your housing properly, you may have a problem. Fantasy is also making a housing that is plastic, but this one have a vacuum system with a leak detection. So before you dive, you pump the air out, and then if the air stays out, normally you should not have any problem when putting it in the water. This one is a little bit more expensive, of course. It's about $400, but to keep your camera safe, it's quite good. Another option, quite more expensive, Nauticam housing. It's aluminum. It have, of course, a vacuum system as well with leak detection. You can also have a tray with arms that are really comfortable, but the price is very different. This one goes about from $800 to about $1,300 if you want to have the arms, the bag, and all of it. If you're an experienced photographer or an expert, this camera is for you. It's quite small, it makes very good pictures, it's very sharp, it's not heavy. You have the flexibility of having wide angle and macro without sacrificing the quality. If you're okay to spend about $1,000 on a camera, a compact camera, then this is probably the best choice for you. I know it's expensive, but because of all of the things you can do with this camera, actually it's not so expensive. It's less than most bodies of mirrorless cameras, and you don't need to buy lenses, you don't need to buy anything else. When you have it, you have it. If you want to see more about this camera, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button. Like this, you will be notified when new videos come out. I will make a video very shortly, actually a full review of this camera underwater, because I will go diving with my friend Ludo and I will get the footage of him filming underwater. If I'm lucky, I may even be able to try it myself. So I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, happy bubbles.